Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Wednesday, November 11th. So happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. It's also my dad's birthday today, so happy birthday to my dad. So let's get into today's price action. Again, interesting moves every day. It's something different, something interesting, something where you have to be a little bit clever to kind of capitalize on the day. But let's talk about the end of day performance for the indices. So SPY finished up 0.75%. Pretty not much of a change from percentage change from open. Again, I talk about this every day. What names, what the performance of the day, of course, is most important. But I like to know, where the money kind of flowed into and out of intraday. So Qs had a really good day. They're up 2.2%. They were up 2.2%. So really strong day for the Qs. Just when everybody thinks that, that's it, no more, growth, Qs, it's all about IWM. IWM basically unched for the day flat, came back there at the end of the day, was down a little bit more than that, but like I said, came back at the end of the day. TLT, up, small up day, I would say, for bonds today. And, not much going on for gold and silver. Once again, I think they came back a little bit. Silver came back from the lows. SLV actually finished green for the day. VIX continues to kind of melt down a little bit, now down to 23. So before I get into today's sectors, let me just address that for a minute, what I said about the Qs, right, and what we've talked about the last couple days. I thought it was interesting. I went over this a couple times. I went over this in the TTG pre-market session that we start every day, right around 9:05 in the morning. And one of the things that I said in the morning, was, listening to, I was listening to CNBC yesterday. I was listening to Fast Money, and I was listening to Cramer's show, Mad Money. And I thought it was kind of interesting. The first 20 minutes on Fast Money, they give kind of their view. And I think, 3 out of 4 of them were all about value, right? And said, okay, one in particular, I'm not going to say anybody's names. And again, this is all good. You can kind of use this for a little bit of sentiment. But one of them in particular said, it's going to be all about value. Growth is dead. That's it. This is the start of a new trend, and yada, yada, yada. Now, first of all, I think that making that type of call and saying that is going to be, I don't think is a very smart thing to do. Or it's one tact, I guess you could play. And maybe I shouldn't say it's a very smart thing to do, because this person could be right. I would rather just take the price action as it comes to me and just kind of, observe what's going on, right? And then, of course, when Cramer came on, I happen to agree a little bit more with what Cramer said last night. What he referred to was that, it's great news, and I agree that there's a vaccine that could be coming, but it's probably months away. So, yes, we're going to see more things probably continue to see rotations. But for now, we've got all these COVID cases going up, and different states are, have different policies about, shutting down indoor seating and different things, right? So while that goes on, it's going to be kind of a push and pull type move. And I don't think my guess is that, yes, it's nice to see some things like the banks and some other areas participate, which haven't in a while. I'm fully welcoming that. But I don't know if that means that it's just going to be up straight line for value and down straight line for growth. There's going to be a lot of different things. And again, what I kind of refer to, or what I've been kind of advocating, is basically just look for good quality names and good quality setups. They don't have to be value growth. You can kind of be, you go, you don't have to say, oh, I can't do this because that's a growth name, or I can't do this because it's a value name. Look, there's quality names in both groups, right? And those are names that I want to be patient, wait till they actually signal, and then kind of go from there. All right. So what performed today? Interesting. The solar names were pretty strong today. They finished up 4.6%. Also, clean energy names, Plug, which saw a lot of call activity, all that momentum, call buying, that type of thing. These names, it just kind of shows you too that if a name gets attacked with all these short-term calls, this environment that we're in where the Fed is not raising interest rates, there's going to be the speculation and these moves like this, until the Fed really kind of comes in and takes away some of that liquidity. There's going to be hot names from day to day, right? This was a hot name today, up 15%, did break out to all-time highs. Sticking with the P's. Palantir was another one that saw repeat call activity today, and was basically off to the races. Another one that was up 14%. This name reports earnings tomorrow. Right, so just a couple names there. A few other sectors. The FANG stocks woke up a little bit today. The semis, which were really strong. So let me talk, and of course, names that everybody's been talking about, including myself. The regional banks were one of the worst performers today. They were down 3%. So, maybe a little bit of profit taking there. It is what it is. And energy names underperformed today too, even with crude. Like, I thought one of the more interesting things coming into today was that crude was up, but sometimes we see these big moves in the beginning of the day, and then they kind of fade out. So I don't like that particular candle in crude, right? I was kind of looking for things today too, just like I said yesterday, right? In yesterday's video, I mentioned, hey, I have an open mind. I'm looking for setups in banks and some value names, but if they don't materialize, they don't materialize. I'm not going to force any type of trades. So yeah, that's crude. It's still holding above value, 41.37, but this wasn't convincing enough for me. And same thing, one of the few names that I saw call buying in the energy space was Devon Energy, which I can't believe this is an $11 stock. But it could work. It's and you could use the 200-day moving average as a stop. But there was just better opportunities, and which I talked about in yesterday's video. Remember I talked about in yesterday's video that instead of buying more value type names, I just saw some good setups in some names that were really strong. And what I really concentrated on was names that had strong earnings, not that just had strong earnings, but basically had strong earnings reactions, right? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It matters on how the stock reacts. That's more important. So, I did things like pins, right? And pins I took off today. So again, I don't know how long growth is going to run, but pins actually went up more than my target. I was just basically looking for a small move to kind of pick, and I defined this as 57 as my exit, and I got that. I took a target yesterday and got out of pins today. That was the first target. But you could see I was in net, again, anytime there's gap ups, right? And we did have a little bit of a gap up in energy. I want to be a seller on the open, right? Again, if you look over time, if you look over time, these, the market, when there's gap ups like this, it's, I want to be selling the open and buying a little bit more of the close. Not every single day, but the majority of time, that's a better trade than the other way around. Zen, this was so again, looking at trades, looking at names that had a really strong earnings reaction. I bought a little bit of this Zendesk, and I basically got what I was looking for too. This name rallied all the way to the top of value. I didn't know if it was going to have enough power to go, but nice little trade too from adding at close to the end of the day yesterday, and took this thing December 125 calls 580 for 520, right, and then took this thing off at 650 for 520. So again, short-term stuff, that I'm kind of trading right now because these moves are kind of herky-jerky, right? It's a very that's a very complicated technical analysis term, but Taiwan Semi, was another one too that I like to set up. I'm holding the last piece of Taiwan Semi. Nice move again, up 3.7%. I'll take it for a semiconductor. That's normally a little bit quiet, but and it's pushing here, right? It may break out, it may not. So that's why I locked in 2/3 of the trade with today's move, right? Next, Twilio. So out of Twilio too, I left a little bit of money on, with Twilio too. It was up 4.8% today. Again, another name that I bought the dip in a little bit with that candle that we saw yesterday, hammer candle, and again, a name that pre-reported earnings, reported earnings did fine, and just took advantage of the dip in this name. Again, it's still looks a little bit, the technicals on the daily chart look a little bit difficult to me, right? It's got more work to do to kind of reclaim these short-term moving averages and just ducked into value for the day. So again, content with a nice gainer. Chewy, I did add this trade. So did I cover all? Yeah, I covered a lot of the names. There's a couple other ones too, like Lowe's that worked today too. But Chewy, this was also, you got a hammer bar yesterday, a move into value. We'll see, I took one target in this thing. We'll see if it, I'm trading this versus bottom of value, right? So again, as long as you're taking shots and names that have defined support, I'm happy doing, right? So that's Chewy. Another one that I'll get back to that. I'll talk about some of today's new trades. Restoration Hardware, really strong looking candle. Let's zoom out a little bit in Restoration Hardware. Why do I like this name? Because it's consolidated in an uptrend, maybe a false breakdown here. And, again, another name that had really strong, earnings reaction has taken a while to kind of get going. But you got to be observant. Set alerts, and then be patient. Wait for those alerts to trigger. I got a nice alert on Restoration Hardware. This was a name that we talked about in the weekend video. Also, a member brought this to my attention too. But we set up alerts based on the weekend watch list. So I was able to hit target number 1 in that trade. But yeah, a bit more trading than today. I tried, a little bit of Goldman today. That was a name that I've kind of been stalking the last couple days. How did it finish for the day? I kind of threw in the towel. Again, I'm quick with some of these names, right? I talked about that in Boeing yesterday. So I made a little bit of money in Goldman, and I just figured, hey, I'm happy with this. Square, another name, right? Another name that was very, had good earnings. Came back and filled the earnings gap, and I put on a bull put spread, right? So I sold premium, collected premium. Sorry, I collected premium, right? And this was up 6.6%. Again, I'm not looking for a home, huge home runs. Just saw that there were some good trading opportunities, and a couple of these names that got hit pretty hard, right? I mean, remember what Square did? Great earnings. Nice move up, came in here, and it just set up for, a place where I actually, took advantage of that. The volatility is a little bit higher than normal, but I actually got out of this whole trade today. Again, sold it at 360, covered it for for 190, happy with, nice gains on that. No need for me to kind of hold it all the way till November expiration. And a couple other names that I'm looking at, so here's a good example too. Now, I don't have this one on, but TTD is another one, right? If you like this name on earnings, right, look at it sit back. So again, it's an important concept here. If a name, sits back, after it, had good performance and gapped up on earnings, if it sits back and gives a lot of it back and then just basically comes back into support, it catches my eye, right? So I think this one will be one that I'll be watching. It wasn't super strong today. I mean, up 4.9%, but I know some other growth names were stronger than this one. But that's the way I think that you kind of look for some trading opportunities, right? And don't get hooked into what the media is telling you that you should be looking for, or even what I'm telling you to look for. I'm basically just saying, hey, let's look for some nice setups. I am gonna notice when things go ahead and shift around in terms of sectors and thematic different moves, right? And I'll take advantage of those. I'm very good at identifying those, but that doesn't mean that I'm solely going to focus on the group that's hot for the day or for a couple days, right? I think this market is going to give opportunities in multiple places. Again, a rolling bull market, different sectors performing, is a pretty darn good thing. The way that I think too, for positioning wise, is to continue to, even though we're in a nice bull market, sentiment is probably running a little bit hot at this point. Continue to be nimble, right? And that's why I'm taking some trades off, right? Because I think over and over, now that we're into a better time of the year in terms of seasonality, right? We got through those difficult months, right? But so I think dips will be bought, right? And dips in the queues and so forth. I think that those dips are going to be bought. So we'll continue to kind of play that theme, as long as we've got a level of support to trade against and it's a good looking trade setup. So that's it. It's impossible to catch everyone. Every one of these trades. Just try to remember that there's so many names and even groups of stocks that are moving so fast right now. So just be mindful that you're not going to be able to catch them all, right? I was looking at a couple solar names today too, but you're just not going to be able to get every single trade that you see. I didn't trade any plug. I didn't trade any Palantir today. Even though I saw the calls go up, several times. But I think this market is going to continue to give us opportunities. And if you miss one or two of these, just wait for the next one, because I think right now we're in a pretty good environment. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. And yeah, look forward to trading tomorrow, guys. Have a great night.